Remember when living rooms shimmered with black and white glow and America tuned in together? Yet for every classic rerun still pinging through cable, dozens of bold, bizarre, or beautiful series vanished into static. Today, we uncovered 20 forgotten 1960s shows, brilliant misfits that deserve a second spotlight. Sit back, adjust your rabbit ears, and let's rediscover the television treasures time left behind. 1. The Lieutenant, 1963 to 1964. Before Star Trek rocketed him into pop culture orbit, Gene Roddenberry cut his narrative teeth on this smart Marine Corps drama. Set at Camp Pendleton, The Lieutenant followed Second Lieutenant William T. Rice as he wrestled with Cold War tensions, racial prejudice, and the blurry ethics of military life. Roddenberry insisted on topical realism, pushing NBC censors with scripts about nuclear brinkmanship and interracial romance, subjects most primetime fare tiptoed around. Guest stars included Nichelle Nichols and Leonard Nimoy, offering a tantalizing proto-Trek reunion you'd never expect to find in olive drab fatigues. Despite critical praise, the show's sober tone clashed with audiences craving escapist laughs, and sponsor conflicts torpedoed renewal after a single season. Today, only a handful of kinescopes circulate at fan conventions, yet its DNA, social commentary writing on genre storytelling, became Roddenberry's signature. Rediscovering The Lieutenant feels like opening a forgotten field journal, raw, sincere, and eerily prophetic about issues the United States would confront for decades. 2. The Girl from UNCLE, 1966 to 1967. Spinning off from the wildly popular spy romp, The Man from UNCLE, this candy-colored cousin starred Stephanie Powers as April Dancer, an elegant agent whose codename winked at James Bond's contemporaneous Miss Moneypenny. Teamed with the dapper Mark Slate, Noel Harrison, April traveled a mod-era globe of psychedelic nightclubs and villainous lairs, brandishing high-tech gadgets disguised as lipsticks and heels. Where its parent series balanced camp with grit, The Girl from UNCLE gleefully leaned into pop art exuberance. Think go-go music stingers, kaleidoscopic split screens, and couture that could double as museum pieces today. Yet critics sneered that the scripts reduced April to a fashion plate, underutilizing Powers' comedic timing and athleticism. Ratings dipped, MGM pulled the plug after 29 episodes, and April Dancer was shelved just as second-wave feminism was gathering steam. Revisiting those surviving episodes reveals a show bursting with sparkling repartee and avant-garde production design, an overlooked bridge between Emma Peel's cool confidence and the later espionage heroines who owned their narrative agency. 3. The Invaders, 1967 to 1968. Imagine the fugitive injected with paranoid sci-fi dread. Architect David Vincent witnesses a UFO landing on a deserted road and spends 2 relentless seasons trying to convince a skeptical America that shape-shifting aliens walk among them. The brilliance of The Invaders lies in its near-documentary restraint. Cold open sightings shot like newsreels, handheld cameras lingering on anonymous diners and bus terminals, and aliens identifiable only by a subtle deformity of the pinky finger. Each episode escalated the cat-and-mouse tension, tapping Cold War fears of infiltration and subversion, yet never sliding into ray gun camp. Unfortunately, ABC shuffled its time slot, ratings cratered, and the planned 3rd season crescendo of Global Revelation never aired. The final broadcast leaves Vincent exhausted on a back road, mission unresolved, an existential cliffhanger that still nags cult aficionados. Binge it now, and you'll feel that same unease whenever a stranger curls their little finger just a bit too stiffly. 4. It's About Time, 1966 to 1967. Sherwood Schwartz, maestro of Gilligan's Island, asked a deliciously goofy question. What if astronauts crash-landed in the Stone Age? The answer is, It's About Time, where Frank Aletter and Jack Mulaney's bumbling spacemen befriend caveman couple Shad and Gronk. Stone clubs meet space helmets, and misunderstandings abound, until episode 18, when a plot twist slingshots the whole caveman clan to 1960s Los Angeles. While the fish out of water reversal injected fresh gags, Gronk grappling with vending machines, Shad critiquing miniskirts, the tonal whiplash confused viewers, and CBS axed the series after 26 episodes. The theme song, however, wormed into pop culture. Its toe-tapping earworm resurfaced in Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Revisiting the series now reveals surprisingly sharp satire about cultural evolution and a proto-Flintstones meets Jetsons charm begging for a streaming-era revival. 5. Coronet Blue, 1967. Few shows burn as briefly or as brightly as this poetic amnesia mystery. A man is hauled from New York Harbor after an attempted murder. He remembers nothing except two cryptic words: Coronet Blue. Each episode follows him through jazz-scored Manhattan streets as he hunts clues to his identity, pursued by silent assassins in trench coats. Conceived by Larry Cohen, who later created cult classics like The Stuff, the series interlaced Beat Generation existentialism with Hitchcock-style suspense. Unfortunately, network politics delayed its premiere for 2 years, and by the time it finally aired, audience habits had shifted. Cancellation struck after 13 episodes, its central mystery unsolved. Yet those fragments ooze atmosphere: bohemian lofts, smoky coffee houses, and a restless soul chasing meaning in a city that keeps erasing him. Coronet Blue feels like a vinyl B-side, rediscovered, scratched, haunting, and utterly irresistible to anyone who's ever wondered who they might be in somebody else's story. 6. The Ghost and Mrs Murer, 1968 to 1970. Before sitcoms flirted with angels, robots, or extraterrestrials, this gentle fantasy posed a sweeter dilemma. What if a bold widow fell in love with a cranky spirit who refused to vacate his own seaside cottage? Based on the 1947 film, the series cast Hope Lang as Carolyn Murer, a journalist seeking fresh salt air inspiration for her writing. Instead, she finds Captain Daniel Gregg, a 19th century sea dog played with twinkling bluster by Edward Mulhare. Their banter crackles like a screwball romance, each episode balancing gothic atmosphere, creaking floorboards, candlelit storms, with tender lessons on grief, independence, and second chances that transcend mortality. Gorgeously shot on the old Bonanza backlot, the show also featured one of television's first single mothers portrayed as professionally competent rather than pitiable. Yet NBC shuffled time slots, and advertisers doubted the premise could lure male viewers, cutting its voyage short after 2 seasons. Many episodes vanished from syndication, leaving younger audiences unaware that long before Ghost or The Sixth Sense, primetime had already paired the living and the dead in a love story as wistful as an ocean foghorn echoing across midnight waves. Play? The New People, 1969 to 1970. Lost crashed Oceanic 815. ABC marooned 30 college students on a remote Pacific atoll and asked, "Can youth build a better society when all adults are gone?" Conceived by Rod Serling, The New People began with a plane wreck that kills every authority figure, leaving the surviving students surrounded by abandoned Cold War buildings, a ready-made campus for social experiments. Weekly plots tackled race, gender, and war with the urgency of late 60s protest rallies. One episode stages a mock election that unravels into authoritarian rule. Another debates free love versus monogamy under dwindling medical supplies. The network's boldest stroke was its 45-minute runtime, designed so local affiliates could air a live town hall discussion afterward. Unfortunately, ratings never matched the ambition, and sponsors balked at storylines questioning capitalism and the draft. ABC canceled after 17 episodes, depositing the island's fate into television limbo. Watching it now, the show feels eerily prescient of campus activism, survival reality shows, and the utopian tech communes of later decades, proof that the generation gap was once wide enough to strand a castaway culture between commercial breaks. 8. The Baileys of Balboa, 1964-1965. When CBS executives sought an answer to NBC's yacht club sitcom Gilligan's Island, producer Keith Brassell spun up this sun-bleached farce about a scrappy charter boat family squaring off against snooty Newport elites. Sterling Holloway narrated as Sam Bailey, a widower raising 2 savvy teens while running day cruises off the California coast. Comic tension bubbled whenever the Baileys' ramshackle craft sputtered past immaculate sailboats captained by blue blood antagonist Commodore Wainwright. Episodes delivered sly commentary on class lines. Teenager Barbara Bailey masquerades as a debutante to expose society hypocrisy. Sam invents a bogus archaeological treasure to hustle repairs from the yacht club's repair fund. Behind the scenes, network infighting doomed the series. Rival executives accused Brassell of winning the green light through personal friendships rather than pilot quality. After 1 season, the Baileys set sail for obscurity, supplanted by newer beach comedies with bigger laughs. Yet its delicate blend of populist humor and maritime Americana captures a mid-century moment when California still promised ordinary families a slice of seaside freedom at $10 a head. 9. The Tammy Grimes Show, 1966. Broadway darling Tammy Grimes leapt from Tony-winning triumph to television headliner, only to meet one of the quickest cancellations in network history. She played Tamantha Ward, a scatterbrained heiress who blows her allowance on altruistic schemes, infuriating her straight-laced banker uncle. The scripts, penned by bewitched veterans, banked on Grimes' stage charisma. She delivered quips like champagne corks, pirouetted through slapstick, and sang impromptu numbers while plotting to save orphaned puppies or overthrow stuffy country clubs. However, audiences on Friday nights seemed bewildered by the frenetic pace and theatrical flourishes that never paused for canned laughter. Ratings flatlined after 4 episodes. ABC yanked the show before several filmed episodes aired, making it a holy grail for collectors. Critics later argued the network miscast a cabaret comet in a single-camera sitcom, yet those surviving reels reveal a daring hybrid, half screwball farce, half social satire, anticipating later zany heroines from Mary Tyler Moore to Schitt's Creek's Moira Rose. Tammy Grimes ultimately returned to Broadway, but her brief TV flair remains a cautionary tale of network nerves eclipsing artistic risk. 10. Captain Nice, 1967. Years before Kick-Ass lampooned amateur superheroes, writer Buck Henry unleashed this psychedelic spoof starring William Daniels as Carter Nash, a timid chemist who concocts a serum that grants flight, invulnerability, and flamboyant fashion sense. Persuaded by his overbearing mother, Carter dons a star-spangled jumpsuit stitched from bed sheets and patrols Big Town, rescuing cats, halting bank robbers, and politely scolding jaywalkers. Visual gags explode across the screen. Villains wield blow-up ray guns, onomatopoeic titles. Pow! Zlop! Burst like fireworks, and Captain Nice's cape notoriously snags on telephone lines mid-flight. Premiering alongside Batman's 2nd season, the show doubled down on camp, yet injected sly jabs at macho vigilantism. Carter faints at the sight of blood, and his greatest nemesis is a plucky policewoman who keeps beating him to crime scenes. Despite solid early numbers, NBC canceled after 15 episodes when superhero fatigue set in. Still, Captain Nice's self-deprecating hero paved the way for later awkward champions like Mystery Men's The Shoveler and the MCU's Ant-Man, proving that even in spandex, vulnerability can be super. 11. Run, Buddy, Run, 1966-1967. Picture Times Square at midnight, neon dripping across wet asphalt. Clarinetist Buddy Overstreet ducks into a greasy spoon for post-gig pie, slides into the wrong booth, and accidentally overhears mob boss Mr. D planning a hit. That single slip of fate launches Run, Buddy, Run, a breakneck chase comedy where every episode begins with Buddy, played by genial Jasmine Jack Sheldon, bolting from fresh danger, while his clarinet case flaps like a broken wing. The premise riffed on The Fugitive, but swapped tragic gravitas for Benny Hill-style farce. Buddy crashes a Texas rodeo disguised as a clown, Hyde. In a convent choir loft, even surfs to Mexico on a hollowed-out double bass. Producers spliced frenetic location footage with snappy voiceover narration that told viewers exactly how many miles, and laughs separated Buddy from doom. Yet ABC shuffled time slots, viewers lost the breadcrumb trail, and after 17 episodes, Mr. D finally caught Buddy in a hastily edited finale nobody quite remembers. Still, the show's jazzy chase music, split-screen gags, and madcap energy foreshadowed road trip comedies from Smokey and the Bandit to Quantum Leap, proving that one terrified musician could carry an entire nation on a weekly tour of America's weirdest hideouts. 12. The Green Hornet, 1966-1967. While Adam West's Batman bathed in day-glow camp, this syndicated sibling opted for nocturnal noir. Newspaper publisher Britt Reed moonlights as masked vigilante, the Green Hornet, cruising city streets in his rocket-tuned sedan, the Black Beauty. But history remembers the show for Kato, played by 25-year-old Bruce Lee, whose lightning-fast Jeet Kune Do demolished the era's stiff stunt choreography. Producers used minimal sound effects, so Lee's real strikes cracked like rifle shots. The camera even shot at half speed so audiences could follow his blinding moves. Storylines leaned into crime journal realism. Corrupt union bosses, heroin rings, and black market weapons, all filmed in rainfall-slick alleyways. Its sober tone spooked sponsors hoping for toy-friendly Zap-Pow graphics, and network execs buried it opposite Gomer Pyle. After 26 episodes, the Hornet hummed quietly back into his hive. Yet Lee's charisma ignited martial arts mania worldwide, and the show's sleek, techno-realist aesthetic presaged gritty antiheroes from Knight Rider to the MCU's Daredevil. Rewatch now and you'll find a superhero series that whispered instead of shouting, until Bruce Lee answered with a roundhouse heard round the world. 13. My Mother the Car, 1965-1966. Ladies and gentlemen, the strangest story ever told trumpeted the opening titles, and they weren't kidding. Attorney Dave Crabtree buys a battered 1928 Porter, only to discover his late mother's soul speaks to him through the dashboard radio, voiced by stage legend Shirley Booth. My Mother the Car embraced magical absurdity before Herbie or Knight Rider. Mom lectures Dave on parenting while he merges into freeway traffic or overrides the ignition to sabotage gold diggers courting her widowed son. Sets gleamed with pastel suburbia, yet each episode tackled then taboo topics: grief, single father stigma, elder care, under a Daffy Hood ornament wink. Critics savaged the premise. One columnist called it automotive matricide. Advertisers bailed, and NBC clipped the show after 30 episodes. But dig beneath the ridicule, and you'll discover television's first sentient vehicle, a template for every talking car, smart speaker, and AI sidekick that followed. Its theme song still spins at retro car rallies, summoning chuckles, and a surprising mist of nostalgia for that unconditional, if chrome-plated, maternal love. 14. Occasional Wife, 1966 to 1967. In Madison Avenue's skyscraper jungle, bachelor Peter Christopher learns his promotion depends on projecting settled family stability. Solution: rent an apartment directly above his and hire neighbor Greta to pose as his wife at office soirees. They install a covert fire escape ladder for midnight wardrobe swaps, forging a hilarious relay of near misses that would later power Three's company. Yet Occasional Wife layers its farce with pointed social critique. Greta negotiates overtime for baby showers, Peter grapples with corporate hypocrisy, and a nameless narrator on a bustling city street breaks fourth walls to snark on gender roles. NBC scheduled the show opposite the Red Skelton Hour. Ratings lagged, and advertisers nervous about unconventional cohabitation pulled support after 30 episodes. Still, its breezy jazz score, split-screen phone gags, and equal partner banter prefigured rom-com dynamics that wouldn't bloom fully until When Harry Met Sally. Watching today, you'll find a crisp blueprint for gig economy relationships, contract clauses, performance reviews, and all, dropped into the era of martini lunches and IBM Selectrics. 15. The Good Guys, 1968 to 1970. Take Bob Denver fresh off Gilligan's Island, pair him with towering character actor Herb Edelman, and drop them into a scrappy Hollywood diner. Denver plays Rufus Butterworth, a well-meaning but chronically scheme-prone taxi driver whose best friend Bert owns the financially wobbling B&B Lunch. Each episode begins with Rufus barreling his cab through the diner doors, literally to deliver some can't-miss plan. Moonlighting as stuntmen, hosting all-you-can-eat lobster nights, even turning the diner into a Coberthitch hiker hostel. The show's charm lies in its blue-collar optimism. Truculent health inspectors, rival eateries, and crooked suppliers may batter the pair, but their loyalty never wavers. Producers shot on bustling city backlots, capturing shifting late 60s culture, draft notices, rising rents, psychedelic fashion, swirling just outside the lunch counter. Despite solid chemistry and Emmy nominations for guest stars like Penny Marshall, shifting lead-in schedules sent ratings downhill faster than Rufus's runaway taxi. CBS canceled after 2 seasons, but its DNA filtered into every odd couple workplace comedy from Taxi to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Revisit it now and you'll taste a slice of Americana flavored with corned beef hash, questionable get-rich shakedowns, and an unbreakable bond between pals who refuse to let hard times cancel lunch. 16. The Puits of Southampton, 1966 to 1967. Imagine discovering the grand mansion at the end of your gated street is secretly in foreclosure, and the residents are hiding it from the world. That's the delicious premise behind The Puits of Southampton, a satirical jewel headlined by the indomitable Phyllis Diller. She plays Phyllis Pruitt, blue blood matriarch whose fortune evaporates when the IRS reveals she owes millions. Rather than provoke national scandal, the government allows the Pruitts to maintain their lavish facade, hoping eventual tourism taxes will pay the debt. Cue a madcap ballet of thrift, posing as opulence. Chandeliers flicker because the servants pedal bicycles to generate electricity. Silver platters are secretly aluminum-sprayed chrome. Diller bluffs creditors with parties catered from canned beans. What elevates the series beyond gimmick is Diller's wicked charm. Her rasping monologues skewer class pretensions even as she clings to them. Guest stars like Richard Deacon and Gypsy Rose Lee drop by to roast high society excess, effectively turning each episode into a champagne-soaked roast of the American dream. Yet critics grumbled that taxpayers wouldn't sympathize with a broke aristocrat, and ABC retooled mid-season under the new title, The Phyllis Diller Show. The ratings meltdown that followed sealed its fate after 30 episodes. Lost in syndication shuffles, the series now feels prophetic, a reality TV blueprint anticipating modern obsessions with conspicuous luxury, hidden debt, and curated public personas. Revisit it, and you'll spot early sparks of satire later perfected by Arrested Development, right down to Diller's raspy, "We're fine," echoing Lucille Bluth decades later. 17. The Time Tunnel, 1966 to 1967. Before blockbusters hurled heroes through multiverses, producer Irwin Allen opened a single portal to everywhere and everywhen. The Time Tunnel follows government physicists Dr. Tony Newman and Dr. Doug Phillips after a test run strands them within Project TikTok's colossal hourglass corridor. Each episode flings the duo into pivotal historical crises. Aboard the Titanic hours before impact, on the battlefield beside Custer at Little Bighorn, even in 1883 Krakatoa as the volcano seethes. Control room scientists monitor via grainy green monitors, scrambling to yank their colleagues out seconds before calamity. Allen, television's master of spectacle, stretched modest budgets with matte paintings, recycled movie costumes, and library music crescendos that pulse like a stopwatch in cardiac arrest. What the show lacked in narrative subtlety, it made up for in educational zeal. Pop-up prove-ins embroidered every script. The year is 1215, Tony, and those tents belong to King John's army at Runnymede. Unfortunately, ABC sliced funds for a planned second season that promised future timelines and alien wars. A cliffhanger left Tony and Doug spiraling toward an uncertain date. Yet its legacy persisted. Directors from Quantum Leap to Loki cite Allen's swirling corridor as the Time portal. Catching an episode today is like opening an old illustrated textbook whose margins burst to life, reminding us that history class could, and perhaps should, feel like dodging cannon fire in 3-strip Technicolor. 18. The Second 100 Years, 1967-1968. Comedy collided with cryonics long before science caught up in this fish-out-of-ice water romp. Mountain prospector Luke Carpenter is frozen in an avalanche in 1867 and thawed out a century later by Alaskan engineers. Physically 33 but legally 133, Luke reunites with his now elderly son Edwin and grandson Ken, also played by Markham in modern slicker style. Every scene doubles with doppelganger gags. Luke learns to drive a Ford by comparing it to his mule, fumbles abroad escalators like a newborn colt, and can't fathom why cash no longer jingles in gold coins. Beneath slapstick, the series explores generational identity. Edwin grapples with paternal role reversal, while Ken envies his grandfather's rugged authenticity. ABC initially hyped the dual-role novelty. Publicity stills juxtaposed bearded Luke beside his clean-shaven grandson. But the network balked when production costs soared for split-screen effects and period flashbacks. Ratings drifted, writers scrambled, and after 26 episodes, Luke's era-hopping family saga froze once more, mid-adjustment. Though rarely re-aired, the concept reverberates through modern favorites like Forever and Altered Carbon, where ageless protagonists confront time's cultural dislocations. Watching Luke tilt at jukeboxes while quoting Civil War slang now feels both hilarious and poignant. A reminder that true culture shock isn't crossing borders. It's waking up to find your entire century expired. 19. The Loner, 1965 to 1966. When Rod Serling traded Twilight mysticism for midday sun, he conceived The Loner, a revisionist Western that swapped gunslinger bravado for haunted introspection. Lloyd Bridges stars as William Colton, a former Union cavalry captain wandering post-Civil War America, searching not for bounties or ranches, but for purpose. Each standalone episode finds Colton drifting into a new frontier town where he confronts moral riddles, racism toward freed slaves, land barons bleeding settlers dry, veterans scarred by invisible wounds. Serling's scripts seethe with his signature monologues delivered against bleak desert horizons. A man may leave battle behind, yet battle rarely leaves the man. Unlike contemporaneous westerns awash in rowdy saloons and clear-cut villains, The Loner shot on austere locations, its dusty color palette underscoring existential weight. Audiences expecting six-shooter catharsis balked. Ratings sputtered against NBC's more boisterous bonanza. After 26 episodes, CBS holstered Colton's pilgrimage. Still, the show's DNA bleeds into every anti-hero Western from Deadwood to Godless, where lawlessness is less a plot engine than a psychological mirror. Today, binging The Loner feels like opening a forgotten diary penned in gunpowder and guilt, its quiet, humane storytelling foreshadowing prestige, television's fascination with damaged warriors seeking redemption on endless roads. 20. Brackens World, 1969 to 1970. Long before reality shows peeled back Hollywood's curtain, NBC dared viewers inside Century Studios, a fictional lot whose soap opera passions mirrored actual Tinseltown turmoil. Brackens World orbits unseen studio chief John Bracken while focusing on hopeful starlets, aging contract players, ambitious directors, and cynical press agents navigating career-making or breaking decisions. Storylines ripped from industry gossip columns. A child star spirals after pubescent awkwardness. A blacklisted screenwriter ghostwrites blockbusters in secrecy. A number Me Too era, foreshadowing executive trades roles for favors. Season 2 brought Leslie Nielsen on camera as Bracken, but network meddling diluted creator Dorothy Kingsley's gritty vision into glossy melodrama, and cancellation loomed after 36 episodes. Yet the series broke ground, showing on-set hierarchies, studio politics, and the emotional toll of fame as precarious gig work. From an actor's trailer meltdown at dawn to executives greenlighting projects based on toy tie-ins, Brackens World predicted realities later exposed by Entourage, Feud, and streaming docuseries. Watching it now is like strolling vintage soundstages at Magic Hour, sets half-lit, egos half-healed, and the hum of machinery behind the silver screen reminding us that dreams here are manufactured, marketed, and sometimes mercilessly rewound. Those screens have long gone dark, yet echoes of these forgotten shows still ripple through modern storytelling. If a title sparked your curiosity, hunt the dusty box sets, lobby streaming platforms, and keep their flickering legacy alive. Subscribe for more hidden history deep dives and share which lost series you'll revive next.